1985, a group of women and one man, Norman Stripe, started a gallery out of necessity because we were tired of schlepping artwork from place to place, and we had Carolyn Pomponiu sparked the thought that maybe it would be a good idea to have a gallery. So we all decided that was a great idea, and we found a space on Thomas Jefferson Street, and we have been, this is now our fifth or seventh, I think it's our seventh location. And we've gone through all kinds of things, but today is a very important day because of the 19 members. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the way, and 7 who couldn't be here, still alive, and not only still alive, but all still working artists, which I think is remarkable. So I would say 3 cheers for eternal artists. I just want to say my name is Nina Muys. I'm the one that has stuck it out the whole time. And I remember painting the first gallery, a little dachshund on my side, and Susan Pearcy, Laura Huff, and Deborah Schindler, who rejoined after a 20-year hiatus. And we are still, and we have so many memories that we probably could go on for an afternoon. I just would like to ask you a specific memory, Debbie. Would you start?
Wow. Well, I remember when the calendar started, that was even before the gallery, and I went back to LA for like a week, visit my family, and I missed a meeting when they were planning the calendar, and I came home and I found out they put me in charge.
The calendar.
Of the calendar, the first calendar, so, you know.
It's very appropriate that you brought all the calendar pieces to be sold.
Yes, so that was how I learned how to put the calendar together. It was sort of like dropped in my lap. So okay, that was it.
You have 2 pieces here, then and now. Can you tell us how your journey as an artist, how you have progressed as an artist?
Well, I'd say I've had ups and downs and periods when I'm very productive and periods when I'm not productive at all in art and I do other things. I think these 2 pieces show 2 different styles, and because I took a long hiatus from making art because I returned to school and I got my teaching certification, and then I became a school teacher, and I really didn't have a whole lot of energy to produce my own work for a number of years.
Laura, would you like to add something to your journey as an artist?
Oh, well, I just remember the excitement of starting this gallery when I wasn't active in it. I followed along. My Aunt Zahn was the one who said, we've got to have a gallery for printmakers, and there isn't anything around. So she's really the one who was the impetus, I think. But anyway, so it was just such a nice place near DuPont Circle, as I recall. Yeah.
We had 3 places in DuPont Circle. One at Thomas Jefferson, then we had R Street, and then was in DuPont Circle, which was the high point of printmaking. This was during the 1980s. We had 45 members.
Yeah, wow. Yeah,
and waiting list.
Yes, and so many that were in the calendar. I just had this wonderful feeling of going through this stack of calendars. Oh, I remember her. Yes, I remember this person. Yes, where are they now? Oh, she died. Oh, too bad. You know, and so it's quite an experience. The calendar really takes you. And I had the first 2 covers, 79 and 80. So I felt fortunately we just sort of, I wasn't afraid, I just did it, you know.
Laura is still making art, but no longer silk screens.
You know what I'm doing? Yeah, I don't do silk screens anymore. I did it in oil inks, and the solvent was a big problem because it was too toxic, and they wouldn't sell the silo anymore at Lowe's where I got it, and so that was it. What was I gonna do? So anyway, it became too hard. I can't stand that long. Because it didn't, if you want to do a big edition, I mean, you got to stand for quite a while. But then what I got interested in, and I've written about my art a lot, and that is writing. And so what I'm doing is stories, memoirs, not my autobiography, but just stories going back. Oh, I think I started 15 years ago. Now the trouble with getting to my age, I can't stop talking. I just want to talk.
Well, we have a limited video time.
Yeah. So.
Speaking of medium, because I have this, the sunflower is an etching, and that is probably one of the last etchings I did before I found out that there's a cancer gene in my family, and I stopped immediately. And I went first to Carborundum intaglio, which then morphed into monoprints, which is the sunflower that's hanging on the wall. Totally non-toxic, thank God, to some very inventive people like Aqua Inks. But basically my journey is like all other artists. It takes many, many different phases. But I am known for my flowers, but I've done some landscapes. Marian, would you like to add something to this?
Sure, but first I'm going to turn my phone on.
Okay, then we go to Susan.
So you don't get your sugar man going. Being a part of the Printmakers Gallery, and I was one of the founding members, although the most work was done by people like Nina Muys and Carolyn and some other people. But it was a wonderful experience to be part of a community. When I started with the Printmakers, I was a lithographer, stone lithographer. I say stone, not stoned, but
there's a sample over on that wall.
Yes, and on the wall, and I started with black and white lithography, and then I learned color lithography, and each stone is each color is a separate press run, and I didn't cheat, which I probably would do now, because it's ridiculous to do all that process to get a little speck of color. But I switched to non-toxic printmaking about the year 2000, also because of the history of cancer in my family, and I do monoprints and monotypes. One memory of one of my, I think I had about 6 or 8 shows at the Printmakers Gallery, probably 8. One of the best shows in terms of memory was when my 101-year-old high school art teacher came up, walked up the stairs of the DuPont Circle Gallery and sat in the middle of the show and just said, "This is the happiest day of my life." And it was she had some memory issues, so when we met them later, and I came to join them for lunch with her nieces, and she said, "So you're Marian Osher." But she just really enjoyed it, and she was a real inspiration to me. I'm primarily a painter now. I've been for about 20 years, but I've not sold my etching press because I'm not ready to say that I'm not going to do any more printmaking. So we'll see what happens.
Susan Pearcy was the president after me. Okay. No, Jenny Freestone. She was a president, and I was a president. We had a 2-year turnaround, which is ideal. We were like Canada geese. One of them led, and the next one led.
Nice.
So that was a very healthy thing. We also had, Bill is holding up we had incredibly exciting shows from all over the world, and one of them in Moscow. And I forgot, but Susan, you were more involved in that. Can you tell us about that?
Well, it was an exchange show.
Yeah.
And the curator found our work through the gallery.
Yeah.
And some of it was selected to stay in the collection in Moscow.
In Moscow. Incredible.
Oh, I can add something about that story. It's very interesting. I was in that show as well. And the artwork disappeared for several years. The Soviet Union broke up. Raisa Gorbachev had organized the show. And eventually, a few years later, the work magically reappeared at the Printmakers Gallery.
Never found out how.
Well,
Well,
the
Marian
capsule,
Osher, Marian and I was in a show in Belgium, and we got scammed. It was one sale, and we never saw the money, and then they made us repaint the exit tax, and it was just a complete disaster. Great opening though, but it was one of those stories that you'll never forget.
Great
Anyway,
t-shirt, too. And you had a nice t-shirt.
so we got a nice t-shirt, but we lost like $1,000 on that. But we were in Belgium, we were in Europe, so.
I selected one of my handmade paper pieces from 1986 for my then selection. We were told to choose 2 prints.
It always was a group effort, just like this show. It took so much, and Leslie and Debbie and all the sitters, the people on duty, they all worked, and they made beautiful buttons for us. Everybody pitched in and did those small parts part of the big picture. And it's the sign of a good co-op when we're able to pull something like that off. And here's to 40 years. Do any of you have any questions about any of our history of?
I think it's great that everyone continues to work. That's really exciting to
Yeah,
hear.
we can't stop, then we.
As long as we're breathing.
I also like, like you can no longer work with this medium, so switch over to that medium. You can no longer work large, you just work small. You adjust. You can no longer walk, so you take a wheelchair or whatever.
Yeah, Matisse, when he did on his walls.
Tell me later.
Yeah, I bought Amy Feldman's house and I bought Sharon Celestini's car.
Tell them what you found in
It's mixed medium.
for all her blocks. And used blocks.
Oh, I don't know what to talk about it, but it was a private sale of the house, and we didn't bargain. We were very young and very inexperienced, and we didn't have anybody to examine the house before we purchased it. So the house is
front lawn. What's the
We lost as many members when we allowed photographers.
Oh.
That's what you gain photography.
Well, so much of it is mixed up now, and certainly the thought behind the photograph is very similar.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, and it's,
Yeah, I use photography within my silkscreens too.
yeah, and a lot of it is mixed up together. I just wanted to also point out some members who have been with us for a long time, like Matina has been with us for 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
Because your work is so detailed and interesting. And Leslie, how many years have you been here? I think 4 or 5. Four, yeah. You just add a 0 to that and you're done.
That's a big difference.
And Bob, you're coming down for also for about 5 years, right? Yeah.
Yes. Since it's 5 year plan.
Well, it's been a real treat to meet you all. And then there's long-suffering husbands. We're always the schlepper of the artwork.
Remember we called the Travel Society.
Mr. Greg and Bill. They really are troopers, and they're always helpful and cheering on their creative partners. And And Bill is our editor, and you were the carrier of heavy equipment for many years, and Greg has been very helpful with data search and moral support and cheerleader and whatnot. Yeah. And Leslie, thank you for putting this together. Going to Trader Joe's.
Can I ask a question, Roy?
Sure.
How do you feel now in this world as printmakers? What's the strong point of printmaking now in our world, the way that it's been the last, let's say, 5 years? How do you feel?
I need to talk to you when.
Terry! Sorry. Sorry, my family had to come with us.
We're just kind of petering out here, but we're just at the end of it. You can record it. Matina asked a really good question. What is the future of printmaking?
Yeah, it's a question that I think every printmaker has at this point, but you're the best to answer, right?
Well, you know, there were many years when we thought it was going down the tubes because of digital work and all of that, but I think it's taken on a new look, a different direction, and I think it's going to live in another form. That's not something that I'm comfortable with yet, but, you know, I'm out of the picture. It's for the next generation.
Well, no, you're never out of the picture, really. If you're active or do, you can be for other reasons out of the picture. But if you create in such a unique way, just probably can produce something out.
Well, yes, okay. So,
And I don't mean anything bad about
right,
it.
okay. We can be here all day.
Do so. That's the whole point. That's your gallery. That's your gallery. You created that.
One of the things about printmaking that is unique from other types of media, in answer to your question, is that in printmaking, you have the creative part and you have the production part. During the production part, you're not, you know, it gives the creative part a chance to rest in a certain way, or maybe to move on to the next creative endeavor that you're thinking about. Whereas if you're painting, and I'm primarily painting,
You're more direct to your media.
you are more on all the time. Like when I printed editions of lithographs, you know, after you get the first moment array, then it's just like really hard work. And then after you do all that work, you have to take the ink out of the stone, and you have to put the stone to bed and re-etch it and so forth, you know, and clean up all the mess. I liked being able to not have to separate all the colors that I was printing. And so that's why I kind of, one of the reasons I love stone lithography. The other reason was oil-based inks. And monotypes gave you more of that fluidity.
Right.
But then, you know, I started painting, and so.
Talking about monotypes, does anybody else of you tell us a little bit about, I think that we should talk a little bit about your processes, not because you're printmakers, but because you spend so much time with them. So it's good to know.
The monotype process is just allows me to be completely intuitive and
Yes,
have a conversation with the plate.
yes.
And you can print it, and then if you're not completely satisfied, you go back and you add, or you shinkolate, or you collage.
Right.
It's just this give and take, and it's quite beautiful.
Yeah, it had different rules back then, and now there are very few rules.
Yeah, I would do for the base. I did this series of chestnut oak trees, American. I'm here. I'm talking about American chestnut trees, and so I would do the outline, which was quite intricate, and print that in one color. And then I would take. I really had fun with this. A brush watercolor the leaves, or, do different things like that with it. So then, I had several that were just different from the main. I try to keep.
Yeah, I'm the variation person as well, but it's important to hear from your mouth.
Yeah. Well,
Because you started it.
Well,
I
she's-
just followed a
Right.
little.
Well, she's right. We did
Ah,
when you do it somebody
But
here.
so how do you feel about rules, all of you?
Well, I'll tell you what happened to me is, I studied when I was in the master's program at Ohio State with a guy named Ken Farley. And he was a really great lithographer. He didn't really like teaching that much, and he got a job with Gemini out in Los Angeles. And so when I was in LA to visit my family, I'd go over Gemini and I'd see him and we'd go to lunch or something. And one time I went out there and they said, well, we're having a session. I said, a session? Like what? And they said, well, you'll see. They all sat around a big table. They all had samples of all the color inks that, like Frank Stella's and Jesper Johns and Robert Rauschenberg's and all these famous artists. And they touched up with a fine brush because they had all these colors mixed. All those prints from Gemini and all those big shops like Tamarind, they're all touched up. I said, how did they get such amazing registration? And the answer was, they didn't.
And, there's something really satisfying about it's all your work. And the other thing I wanted to mention that we haven't talked about is paper. And the surfaces of what you work on. One of the things I loved about lithography, and I have to say I missed this one aspect of this drawing on the surface of the stone. It was such a wonderful tactile surface, and each printmaking media has its own tactileness about it, whether it's cutting a wood block or engraving or dry point. I've done all of these, and we find the one that you feel most comfortable with, and that's what you usually work with. But that's one of the beauties of printmaking, and also the papers that you print on. And, like printmakers learn about paper, some make their own.
Some make their own.
Oh, yeah.
Terry Scott makes her own
So if you had to talk, let's say, that's kind of a difficult question, but if you had to say what was the best ever for you in printmaking, can you actually discern, talk about one more than others? Did you have fun about something?
The invention of
It's a difficult question.
non-toxic inks.
You think about it, it was a big
Non-toxic
deal.
inks, I think, was the big change.
It was a
I
big change,
remember-
but
And there was very little loss to the art. And sometimes you invent something and it doesn't work as well, but I think it created the same results. But we have to be very concerned about health.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was a big change for me and for a lot of us. Yeah.